This video is going to go over finding missing angles using all of the different angle properties that we learned. So we're going to be looking at transversals, cutting through parallel lines, and finding missing angles. So you'll need a calculator for this, and you'll also need to be taking some notes. In this picture, you can see that we have two parallel lines. They are cut by a transversal. So we're going to use what we know about angles to find all the missing angles. So first thing I can do is I see this angle 50, and I see this B right across from it. That is a vertical angle, so I know that that angle also measures 50 degrees. All right, the next thing that I see is these two angles, the 50 and the A, together they make a linear pair, or 180 degrees. So if this side is 50, A has to be 130 degrees. All right, if angle A is 130 degrees, then angle C also has to be 130 degrees because they are vertical angles. All right, the next thing that I see is angle C and angle E. These two angles are alternate interior. That means they're on opposite sides of the transversal and they're on the inside. Now we know that alternate interior angles are equal, so that would make this 130 degrees. Now you also could have noticed that angle A and angle E are corresponding angles. They're in the same spot above the lines in the transversal, so they both are equal too. Okay, if you know this one, now you can figure out the rest of them. E and G are vertical angles, so that's 130 degrees. Okay, and then if you look at D and E together, they make a linear pair. So if this is 130, I need 50 more to get to 180. So angle D is 50, and then angle D and F are vertical angles, so angle F has to be 50 degrees. All right, so I just found all of those missing angles using what I've learned about angle properties and transversals. All right, we have another picture here, and you can see that I have two parallel lines, and it's cut by a couple transversals. So we want to see if we can find all of the missing angles. So I want you to draw this picture. I want you to push pause, and I want you to see what angles you think you can find. When you're done, push play. All right, so first thing that I usually do is the vertical angles. So if this one's 110, then this one across from it also has to be 110 degrees. Okay, so that one's pretty easy to find. The next thing I always look for are linear pairs because those are pretty easy to point out. So these two angles here have to make 180 because they make a straight line. So if this is 110, this angle needs to be 70. Okay, because that adds up to 180. Now if this one's 70, this one also has to be 70 because it's a vertical angle. Okay, now I'm going to look at this transversal and these two parallel lines. Now, first thing that I might do is I might look at this angle and this angle here. I see they're corresponding. They're both on the top of the lines, the parallel lines, on this side of the transversal. So I know that this one's 70 degrees. Okay, so I could use that. Now, another property I could use is alternate interior. This angle is on the inside, okay, and this is on the opposite side. So alternate interior angles, this one has to equal 110 degrees. Now, if this one is 110, this one needs to be 110 because they're vertical angles. And same thing here, if this is 70, this one needs to be 70 because they're vertical angles. Okay, now we also need to find these angles over here. So to do that, this time we're going to look at this line as the transversal and these two lines as parallel. Okay, so you kind of have to maybe even turn your paper sideways when you think about this. But if you look here, I see that this angle is on top of my line, okay, and it corresponds to this angle, which is also on top of the line. So this one would also be 110 degrees. Now, if that one's 110 degrees, this one's vertical to it, so it's also 110 degrees, okay? Now we can use our linear pairs, 110 plus 70, okay, makes 180, and then this one down here has to be 70 because it's vertical. Okay, now if you know those ones, you can find all of these ones pretty easy. Now I can look at this line, okay, I'll just kind of trace it. If you look at this line and then these two parallel lines, you should be able to figure out the rest of them. All right, 110, and then on the opposite side, these are alternate interior angles, so this one would also be 110. Okay, if you know this one, this 110, you can find this one because it's a vertical angle. 110. And then if you know this one, okay, these are a linear pair. They make 180, so it has to be 70. And then this angle is vertical to that, so it also has to be 70 degrees. So we just found all of those angles in that picture. Okay, we have another picture. I want you to go ahead and try to draw this one. There's a lot of missing angles in this picture. Push pause, and I want you to try to find as many as you can, and then push play when you're ready to see the solution. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for all my vertical angles. So I see 50 degrees, E is going to be 50. I'll write that in a second. Those are vertical. And I see 135, so H is going to be 135 because those are vertical. So I'm just going to fill those two in quick. Okay, now I'm going to use what I know about linear pairs to find these other ones. Okay, these two together make 180. So if this is 50, another 130 would make 180. Okay, and then those are vertical, so it would be 130 degrees. Okay, over here, okay, if I look here, this is 135, I need to get to 180. Okay, so this would be, I would be left with 45 degrees here. And angle I is vertical to that, so that would also be 45 degrees. All right, so now we're going to try to find some other angles, and I'm going to use these couple lines. I'm going to kind of trace over them. I'm going to use this line and this line. They're parallel, and I'm going to use this line as my transversal. So let's kind of see what we notice about this. So again, I'll just trace my transversal in black. All right, so if you look here, okay, this is 45. Okay, on this side, this would be alternate interior angles, so C has to also be 45 degrees, so I can fill that in. Okay, so that kind of helps me right there. Okay, now if I come over to L, I see that's vertical to it, so I can fill in that that's 45 degrees as well. Okay, now I'm going to use this purple line as a transversal, and then these two parallel lines. Now kind of watch this. I see 50, and then on this side, these are alternate interior angles, so A is also going to be 50 degrees. If I know angle A, I can figure out angle K, because it's vertical. That has to be 50 degrees. Okay, now, here's what I'm going to do to find J and B. There's a couple ways to do this, but I'm going to think, what if I put all three of these together, L, J, and K? They make a straight line. They make 180. So let's see what we have so far. We have 50 and 45. That's 95. How much more to get to 180? Okay, so to get to 180, I need another 85 degrees because that would give me 180. So angle J is 85 degrees, and now angle B is vertical to that, so that's also 85 degrees. Now I just want to show you one quick little other thing. If you guys see the shape I'm tracing right here, that's a triangle. You guys know that a triangle has 180 degrees, so I want you to see if this makes sense. 50, 45, and 85. Does that equal 180? It does, so you know you kind of did that correctly. Okay, we have another one here. This will be our last one. So this time, what I want to try to do is figure out what these angles equal. Okay, so I'm going to kind of use what I know about angles E and angle F. Okay, if you look at these two angles, if I put those together, they make 180 degrees. So if I take angle E, which is this, and angle F, together they make 180. So I'm going to write an equation. I have 7x plus 70 plus the 3x plus 10, those are my two angles, equals 180 degrees. So again, here was angle E, here was angle F. All I did was add them together. They make 180. So now I'm just going to solve my equation. So 7x and 3x, that's 10x. 70 and 10, that's 80. Equals 180. Okay, I'm going to subtract 80 from both sides. I get 10x equals 100. My last step is to divide by 10 on both sides, and I end up with x equals 10. So now we're going to see if we can figure out what these angles are. So we're going to plug a 10 in right here for the x. So if I do 7 times 10, that would give me 70, plus another 70 is 140. So angle E is 140. Now let's try angle F. If I do 3 times 10, because that's what I got for x, that's 30, plus another 10 is 50. Oops, I mean 30 plus another 10 is 40. Sorry about that. Okay, now you guys can check those out to see if that's correct, because 140 plus 40, that makes 180. So I know that's correct. Now I can find every other angle in my picture. using what I know about angles. So if this angle F is 40, angle H also needs to be 40 because it's vertical. If angle E is 140, angle G needs to be 140 because it's vertical. And then I could do alternate interior angles, angle E and angle C. They're alternate interiors, so angle C is 140. That makes angle A 140 because it's vertical. So angle B needs to be 40 degrees, so those make 180. And angle D needs to be 40 degrees because those are vertical angles. All right, so we just found all those missing angles kind of using what we know about angles, and we set up an equation. All right, that concludes our video on finding missing angles. So just make sure you rewatch any parts that you don't get. Ask your teacher for any help if you don't understand anything, or ask some of your classmates.